And we're live. Hello, everybody. It's been a long, long time, hasn't it? How are you all? Come on in, sit down. If you could fill up the seats at the front of the class first, please. Don't sit at the back. You know what that means. No troublemakers. Great to see you. Say hello. Don't be rude. Let me know that you're there. Let me know that you can hear me. Very, very important. I don't want to be talking to myself like I sometimes do, sitting here on my own, talking to myself like an idiot. So please say hello. It's been quite, we've not done one of these for 2 whole months. 2 whole months. Have you missed me? Have you missed me? You didn't write. You didn't get in touch. So I can only assume that you haven't. Little worried about the lack of comments here. So this is our first lesson. I don't tend to do these in the summertime because it's just far too hot here in Barcelona, and it's really to protect you. Oh, hello, Jana. Nice to see you. You've missed me. That's really nice. You made me feel better. Yeah, and it's just too hot, and I want to protect you all from the horrors of my big sweaty face, which is not pleasant. Hello, Anne. Nice to see you here. And so I thought, just take a break. And also I've been in the UK for a few weeks doing my course at Niall and Norwich and all that sort of stuff. So it's nice to take a break, isn't it? And I thought I'd do a live so that I could tell you a little bit about what's coming next, this mini course that we've got about picture telling. So I'll tell you about that. Let's start by just going back to, well, let me ask you all, maybe you could type into the chat, how long have you been teaching for? How long have you been in this game for? Hello, Elizabeth. Everyone that says hello makes me feel just a little bit better. I started teaching in 2001, which is 22 years ago. And hello, Ksenia. Hello, Livia. Oh, my goodness me, Elizabeth, I've been teaching longer than you have. No, you've been teaching, what am I talking about? You've been teaching longer than me, an old timer. So Elizabeth, if you've been teaching since 1986, that's in the days before the internet, which is quite incredible. And obviously in the days before the internet, there were no images. Am I right? Did you, hello there, Janice, saying hello to all us lesson streamers. Did you make use of images in your classroom when you taught in the early years, Elizabeth? Ksenia since 2003. Hello, Lamberto. Nice to see you here. Because when I first started teaching in 2001, and we've got an eye on the internet here, the internet was very different then than it is today, as we all know. It was very much text-based, wasn't it? There wasn't much else going on the internet. I mean, there were a few little graphics and some dodgy images, but because, well, when the internet kind of became faster, as the internet became more faster, it went more visual. Websites became more visual. There was a lot more images, let's say. And I remember one website in particular in 2004, I think it was Flickr. Do you remember Flickr? Flickr was an image sharing site, a photograph sharing site, and I found it to be particularly influential. I thought, wow, this is it. Things are changing. The internet is becoming visual. I mean, we'd always had images, of course, that goes without saying, but what we had now was not just more opportunities to find images, but importantly, a way to share them, and also, of course, a way to share teaching ideas. So you remember, hello, Gertie, nice to see you here. And so you use songs, texts really, and you remember Flickr. And so I was kind of a product, I think, starting my teacher training in as a teacher, 2001, started becoming a teacher trainer around 2004 or 5, materials writer, maybe 2003, but just in time for this explosion of visual materials, let's say non-moving visual materials on the internet. And in 2008, I wrote this book here, Images, which some of you might know. And I remember when I was writing this book, so I see myself as being a product of the age, as I just mentioned. And I think that it's no coincidence that this book and several other books on images came out at the same time. They too were products of the age. My friend Ben Goldstein wrote the equivalent one for Cambridge. And I remember being absolutely immersed in images and potential for using images and exploring ideas for working with images. And when I wrote this book, I remember working on the introduction. It's not actually the first thing I wrote, but it's obviously you wouldn't write the introduction first. Usually you start to collate the ideas. But when it was time for me to write the introduction, I was looking for an image which would provide a kind of case study. I wanted to refer to an image to demonstrate the potential of images. In fact, there's something I wrote here in the introduction. I said that images speak to us. They give rise to outbursts of emotion, thought, and curiosity. They bring back memories and remind us of the experiences we have had. Image refreshes the parts of the brain that words alone fail to reach, which is actually a little connection to a famous advertising slogan that you may or may not be familiar with. And so I wanted to find an image that I could refer to, which would kind of allow me to put that, to demonstrate what I said in that paragraph. And I remember going through all the images I was using, trying to find an image, which one to use. And eventually I made a decision, and I found an image that I've referred to in the very, very first paragraph of the introduction of this book. And the image makes an appearance on page 105. And I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to tell you about this image. I'm not going to show it to you yet, but I'm going to tell you about it first. Now, it's very possible you'll know this image if you're familiar with the book or if you're familiar with my work. So if you know this image, and also if you're in the LessonStream membership, it's very possible you'll know it. So if you do know it, just keep it to yourself for the moment. We'll come back to that, all right? So as I said, I'm going to show you this image in just a moment. But before I do so, I'm going to tell you about it. I'm looking at the image. You can't see it. And that's how this is going to roll. All right. So it's a black and white photograph. And there are 7 people in this photograph. They're all standing up. And one of them is called Robert. Now, I'm going to tell you about Robert. He's a very interesting individual. And in many ways, he was a regular kid. And he loved photography. He loved stamp collecting. He loved his family. And I mean, although you probably don't know his name, I'm almost certain that you will recognize him as soon as you see this photograph, the one that I'm looking at right now. Robert actually had quite an iconic appearance that was captured in many photographs. He often wore tailored suits, round-rimmed spectacles. He was always smiling. I mean, in every single picture I've ever seen, he was smiling. And he was quite well known for his gentle demeanor. And I've seen many pictures, many photographs of Robert, but this is my favorite one. And I guess you could call it a family snapshot. A snapshot, that's actually maybe a word that we don't hear too much these days, is it? In the days of Instagram, do we still talk about snapshots? I'm not sure. I don't think young people do so much. A snapshot, a quick, sort of unprepared, unprofessional in any case, photograph. Maybe selfies killed snapshots. I'm not sure. But this is a family snapshot. It was taken in a garden somewhere in Midwest USA shortly before 1940. Now, in the picture, we can see Robert's mother, Robert's father, his brothers, and his sisters, and they're all lined up for the camera. And everyone is smiling, as you would do in a family snapshot. Now, Robert is standing proudly behind them all. Let me just get this right. He's got his left hand on his father's shoulder, and he's got his right hand on his brother Eugene's shoulder. Can you see this in your mind's eye? Now, I've spent a lot of time working with this image. I spent a lot of time writing about it. I spent a lot of time looking at it. And when I look at it, well, when I used to look at it, and even now when I look at it, I always focus on Robert's graceful smile. And I try to imagine what his life was like, and whether or not he suffered. And by all accounts, according to what I've heard and according to what I've read, Robert never complained, and he did everything he could to enjoy the few years that he had in this world. But, surely he must have wished that he could join his family in the foreground of this photograph like any typical boy. Robert died when he was just 22 years old. And my question for you is, who was Robert and why do we remember him? And if you know the answer, obviously, I would prefer you not to tell us the answer if you know it. But if you don't know the answer, or at least if you suspect you know the answer, why was Robert? Well, why do we remember him? Who was he and why do we remember him? Please do feel free to type it in the chat or to ask me any questions you may have. So type in your theories or type in your questions into the chat. And Elizabeth knows it, and that's why she says mum's the word, which is an interesting phrase, isn't it? I've never really known where that comes from. Mum's the word. It means, yes, I know, but don't worry, I won't say a thing. I'll keep it to myself. Mum's the word. Hello, Lotus. Nice to see you here. And hello, Hands Up Project. Who's that representing the Hands Up Project? It's nice to see you here. I just got your email a little while ago, actually, and I was reading it, and I was actually going to. I'm going to reply to you. I don't usually, but I am to this one. And hello, Anna in Brno, who often uses images. It's I've never met a teacher who doesn't share at least some of the same enthusiasm that I have. Images are just great, aren't they? So let's see. Did anyone suspect? Oh, it's Nick. Hello, Nick. How lovely to see you, Nick. Yeah, I just got your email. I don't know if it came from you. It came from the Hands Up Project, but yeah, I'll be getting in touch with you later. So maybe Robert, says Ksenia, maybe he was a member of the royal family. That's interesting. I would, when we get ideas from students like this, when we elicit ideas, when students give their answers, we often feel we have to reply with a yes or a no. And sometimes we encourage students to ask closed questions that can only be answered with a yes or no. But I think that's kind of a dead end sometimes. So, my next question to Ksenia would be, well, that's interesting, but can you tell me, Ksenia, why you think that? What makes you suspect that Robert was a member of the royal family? What was it about me telling you about this image that made you suspect Robert belongs to royalty? It's interesting. What I've just done here is what I refer to as a picture telling activity. And I wonder if this is a word that you've heard before, picture telling. It's a word that I think I started using it for the first time after I wrote this book. I know that, probably about 2010. And what picture telling is just communicating the narrative of an image as a storyteller would. So it's like storytelling, but it's picture telling. And as is the case with storytelling, we're very much concerned with narratives in picture telling. I think it's very easy for teachers and anyone that works in language teaching to associate or assume that images are and should be associated with descriptive texts. And there are certainly elements of a descriptive text in my telling, weren't there, when I described parts of the photograph? But it's much more about a descriptive text. That was a means to an end. Really, what was at the heart of this was a relationship between me and the photograph. So family members lined up in a row reminds you of a typical royal family. Well, I tell you what, there are some clues in my text. So this gives us a license and a reason for me to tell you about this photograph a second time. And this time, listen carefully for the clues in what I say. All right. So I'm looking at the photograph right now. I can see it, but you can't. I'm going to show it to you in just a moment. But before that, I'm going to tell you about it. Picture telling. This is a black and white photograph. And there are 7 people in it. 7 people. And one of them is called Robert. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Robert. You see, in many ways, Robert was a regular kid. He loved photography. He loved stamp collecting. And he loved his family. And although I'm quite sure you don't recognize his name, or you won't recognize his full name if I give it to you, which I'm not going to give it to you because you, the teenagers that you are, you go straight for Google, so we're not going to do that. But I'm sure if I did give you his full name, you wouldn't recognize it. But I'm almost certain that you will recognize Robert as soon as you see this photograph. Isn't that a lovely structure? Although I'm quite sure that you won't know his name, I'm almost certain that you will recognize him as soon as you see this photograph. We could draw attention to that phrase. We could even dictate that sentence. Why not? Robert, had quite an iconic appearance. It was captured in many photographs. He's quite well known, or he was quite well known for wearing tailored suits, round-rimmed spectacles, and he was very well known for this gentle demeanor, which always came across in his photographs. And I've seen so many photographs of Robert, but this one right here is without a doubt my favorite. It's a family snapshot. It was taken in a garden somewhere in Midwest USA shortly before 1940. And in the picture, we can see Robert's mother, his father, his brothers and sisters. They're all lined up for the camera, and everyone is smiling. And Robert, I think I got this right before, he's got his left hand on his father's shoulder, and his right hand on his brother Eugene's shoulder. And, when I look at this photograph, and I've spent a lot of time looking at it, I always focus on Robert's graceful smile. And I try to imagine what his life was like and whether or not he suffered. By all accounts, he didn't complain, and he did everything he could to enjoy the few years that he had in this world. But surely he must have wished that he could be in the foreground of this photograph with his family, like any typical boy. Robert died when he was just 22 years old. I wonder if you can guess who was Robert and why was he famous? Why do we remember him today? Now, we're not going to do this a third time, but if this was a real classroom teaching situation, I would not be scared to go over this maybe not just 3 times, but even 4 or even 5. There's things we can do. We can pause to elicit words that students have already heard. This is what we could describe as a family. What? A quick photograph? Yes. A snapshot. Everyone is. And if students have heard that text three times, and we've done everything we can with our voice to try and make the language sticky, then maybe we can start to retrieve it from students. It's interesting, Elizabeth, because when I wrote this when I wrote the introduction all those years ago, I started by saying the story of Robert is a sad one. But then I decided in this new lesson plan not to say that, because I want students to decide whether or not it's sad. I like to go into my own relationship with the image, but I don't really want to dictate the meaning of the story too much. And so I've decided to omit that part. Jana says that Robert must be unique in his physical appearance, guessing from the hint that you would recognize him if you saw him. Absolutely, absolutely unique. And Elizabeth says R.W., Robert Wadlow. Exactly. And you remember another photograph from a textbook. Yes, Jana, you've got a key part of the information. It might be a bit fat, that he's so fat that he has to stand behind his family, can't stand in the foreground of the picture. You've almost, oops, I'm going out of focus here. Let me just see what's going on here. Bear with me. I'll see if I can focus myself in. How's that? Am I back in focus? Yes, you've really almost got the right answer there, but you've got the wrong adjective. And Elizabeth said he looked happy in the other photograph. He always was smiling. And that's why I feel that I don't want, I feel that if he didn't want his life to be remembered in a sort of poignant or sad way, then I don't want to sort of stamp that over it. I think that's a very important part of it. Robert Pershing Wadlow was, and still is, the tallest man in medical history, without any doubt. There is no other human being recorded as being taller than Robert Pershing Wadlow. He passed away at the age of 22 years old, although he tended to look a lot older than that. I mean, if we look at his graceful smile here, I mean, look at it. It's just such a, yeah. And 2.72 meters high. And yeah, that's pretty tall, isn't it? And we'll never see another Robert. Never see another Robert Pershing Wadlow because medical treatment has developed, and this is gigantism, which is a overproduction of growth hormone, infancy and adolescence as well, accounts for this. The lesson plan that I've created is kind of from here. Students have to go online. Well, students are invited to ask questions, so write down questions about Robert. So, for example, why was he so tall? How did he die? Did he have a job? Is gigantism classed as a disability? And then after that, after collating and pulling all these questions, students have to go online and find out the answers for themselves. Students can choose, or you can ask them to focus on different aspects of the story. So maybe each student or each group could focus on a different question and then pull back their answers, maybe present their answers or make posters, so that everybody gets filled in. You see, that's the idea. But really what I wanted to demonstrate here is a lesson. And thank you very much, Elizabeth. So this, if you're in the LessonStream membership, as I know you are, Elizabeth, and a few other people here right now, I've just uploaded that lesson plan, the one that you can see right now in front of you. And this idea of picture telling that I've been using for over 10 years now is an approach to using images that I've found to be the most communicative way to do it. And there's all sorts of possibilities. It seems like such a simple way to use an image, but I know from my experience of having worked with teachers that there's so much happening in a picture telling text. Let me just give you a couple of pointers here. We mentioned before that what a picture telling is the picture teller stands with the image in hand. It can be an image in a book. It can be a printed off copy of the image. It can even be an image displayed on a laptop, not a laptop, sorry, a tablet. And students, or your audience rather, because the teacher is not always the picture teller, the students can be picture tellers as well, but it's important that the audience knows that there's an image in hand but cannot see it, because this creates a very curiosifying information gap. And that's very important here. It's a very curiosifying way to use image. Sometimes we talk about covering up parts of the image, which is okay, but why would you want to cover up parts of the image when you can cover up the whole image and turn it into a total immersive communicative experience? So that's the first part, withholding the image. Picture telling is withholding the image from your audience and communicating it as a storyteller would. But the key to picture telling success, and this is very, very important, is to prepare your picture telling text beforehand. And that takes time, working with the image, looking at the image. The more you look, the more you will see, and the more you see, the more you will know, or that will occur to you to write about. And there's elements of narrative, there's elements of description, there's elements of your own association or relationship with the image, what's going on here. I think that's what we think. We think we're using this, but we're actually not. We're using this. One image on the screen, but if you've got 20 students, you've got 20 different experiences, 20 different narratives, or 20 different stories happening in the minds. And so you've got to prepare this text. And here's a little cheating tip to make our lives easier. So here's the image in the book. Place your picture telling text, which this is included in the new lesson plan, over the image. So in fact, although you're looking at an image, or at least students think you're looking at an image, you are cheating. You're reading from the text, or you're using notes. And as long as you can do this well, your students need never know. Did you see how I kind of maybe fooled you? I said, let me just get this right. He's got his left hand on his father's shoulder, his right hand. I knew what I was going to say because it's right here. I was just wanting you to think that I was, improvising the picture telling, but I wasn't. It's very carefully planned, and that allows me to go over the picture telling, or rather repeat it 3 or 4 times. And, each time you do, students will think about new things, will have new things to say, new questions to ask, new theories. And it very quickly becomes, a two-way communication between you and the students, not just them asking questions, but discussing and talking and theorizing and speculating. It's a fantastic activity when it goes right. So that's the secret. That's the trick. Hold your text over. Actually, what's really interesting is that in this book, images, this picture here is the panda photographer, this little boy called Mike Hardy. This picture is the very, very first one, or at least it's involved in the very first activity in the book. And do you see the name of the activity? Mental picture dictation. This is a picture telling activity, but I hadn't thought of this term yet. Picture telling. I think I was being influenced by the term picture dictation, which is when a teacher, dictates the picture to students who have to draw it. Now, that's not a bad activity, but this is absolutely certainly not a dictation. You tell stories. Stories are open to interpretation. They're not dictated. You can dictate a text, but you can't dictate a story. And so I think that had to change. Mental picture dictation became picture telling. And so that was quite important to me. And so let's see. Nellie, hello, Nellie, again. Sedora. Images evoke so many ideas. They do, don't they? I mean, an image, the picture telling text that I created for this image will be remarkably different to the one that you would create and the ones that our students would create. And ultimately, this is what we want to do. We want to get our students to create these picture telling texts and be the picture tellers. Nick's saying you love the way that through picture telling you get an image in your head. Yes. And you get an aha moment when you finally see the original image. Absolutely. This is absolutely key for comprehension. That sort of vague mental construction of the image that you get, which comes according to the sounds which travel through your mouth into your students' minds. Then you get an opportunity to compare that with the actual images. Great for comprehension. Curiosifying, yeah, a word I made up, Elizabeth. I thought it was an actual word at one time, I think, or maybe different vocabulary structures, plots, so yes. Now let me just show you a couple of things here, because in the LessonStream membership, and Nellie's in the LessonStream membership, and Elizabeth's here. There, Nick's. I think Nick, you're still in it, maybe. And a few, Ksenia's in it. We've got I think there's about 12 lesson plans, which are picture telling activities. And here are some of the pictures that we have. This one is used in an activity called Love and Chaos, which is great for developing visual literacy. This one is called Frog in a Raindrop, which you might even know this. We've used this in a previous LessonStream Live. I love this picture, don't you? Frog in a Raindrop. This one here is called Spy Dog, and we use this for creative writing, but not before we picture tell it. And The Lady of Shalott, which connects to a story which comes from a poem by Lord Tennyson, Alfred Tennyson. This is an iconic image, a very shameful image, an image of racism, which is a lesson plan called First Day at Your New School. That young woman, Dorothy Counts, who still talks about the horrific experience she had. Very moving story, and a lesson plan that I'm actually very fond of and quite proud of, if I can say that. Station Squabble. This is a lovely image. Lovely, maybe not the right word. Two mice fighting over a crumb. And the reason I love this lesson plan is because we actually had the photographer who won the People's Choice Wildlife Photographer of the Year award a few years ago, and he joined us in the LessonStream membership, and we interviewed him and used some of his answers for the basis of the activity, but again, not before we picture tell it. Any image we're using, you can actually have a picture telling phase. Don't just show it to your students. Maximize the communication. Picture tell it first. Dahlia Atomica, Atomicus. Possibly this may be my all-time favorite image for using in the language classroom. And what's really funny, I mentioned Ben Goldstein already. We discovered that we have a great love for this image completely independently of each other, which is funny. This is part of an activity called Ukrainian Illustrators on Instagram. This is a Marc Chagall, great, lovely image. This one, I love using this in the classroom. This is called The Birthday. This is the most recent activity is Robert, the one I've just shown you, but this is the second last one. This is a lesson plan that actually makes use of an image which hangs above my own bed. Some of you know it. This is it right here. And it's an absolutely, I love this story. And if you'd like to hear this story, if you haven't heard it already, I tell it in a YouTube video that I made. This is one of those YouTube videos that you spend a long time creating and editing. So if you wanted to watch this one, I've actually included the link below. So please do. I always forget to do this. I always forget, but I'm going to ask you right now, could you do me a big favor? And if you haven't already, just subscribe to my YouTube channel and also give this video a like. I hate asking people to do that, but you have to, really, especially when you do spend so much time working in these videos. So if you could like this video, and if you wanted to even go further than that, if you were to copy the URL of this live and share it on Facebook or LinkedIn or anywhere, as soon as we're finished, other teachers will be able to watch the recording. So this is what's going on here. In LessonStream, in the membership, we're about to start a picture telling course, and I'm really excited about this. I've been waiting for so long to do this. We've been working through the LessonStream story course. That is now finished. It doesn't mean it's still there for you to use, for you to access as and when you want. But right now we're focusing on picture telling. And this is a course for you to learn, first of all, to recognize good images, which is in itself a skill, I think. And in fact, what we're doing, the very first thing we're doing, the very first task for LessonStream members and anybody who's actually taking part in this course, is just to find an image that you like and share it in the community. As simple as that. And I'm really happy that some of the participants have already started doing that. You'll also take away some theory, discovering the different ways in which human beings interact with images. We mentioned already that we think it's this, but really it's about this. And that's really what it's all about. What are these different levels? What are the different types of narrative that we can be using for picture telling? Materials writing, you're going to use that theory, put it into practice to create your own picture telling lesson plans and activities. And of course, there's going to be a whole bunch of ready-made picture telling activities for you to take away. All right. I mentioned this idea that this very simple task for teachers to do, which is to find a good image, preferably one that's associated with a story, because that's really what it's all about. Narrative, strong images is what we like, and share it in the community. And that means very, very strictly no sunsets, because someone always wants to post a sunset. Unless you can convince us that there's a really good story associated with this image, people shouldn't be taking photographs of sunsets anyway. They should be appreciating them. Take a picture of a sunset with your mobile phone. It's going to look rubbish. What are you going to do with it? You're going to show it to your grandchildren? I don't think so. They're not going to be interested at all. I'm sorry, that was a little bit of a rant. I'm aware of it. So we're just about to start this course. We're going to work through it during the next 2 or 3 months. It's a course like all of the LessonStream courses. If you'd like to take part, all you have to do is join the LessonStream membership. It's as simple as that. And once you're in the LessonStream membership, you get instant access to the entire library of lesson plans. I mentioned there's about 12 picture telling activities, and there's about 150 lesson plans there, all of them story related. Also the courses, the LessonStream story course, you get access to this one as we work through it, and of course the community. The LessonStream membership works as a subscription, so you can pay either a monthly, $8.99 per month, or $89.90 per year. And we've got some members actually with us right here, right now. And I think that Elizabeth, I saw Elizabeth saying something nice about the LessonStream. Yeah, she said super membership, and yeah, we tend to be teachers who are very passionate about using story and storytelling in the classroom to engage students and getting them to do stuff. That's what it's all about. So I've included a link to sign up if you'd like to do so below. It's all there. If you're not sure if it's for you, just go ahead and join, because if you decide it's not for you, you just let me know. Send me a quick email and you'll get your money back. You've got 3 weeks to do that from joining. And I think, there's also institutional membership. So if you're a school administrator or director of studies and you're interested in this for your teachers, you let me know and I'll tell you how that works. But it's very, very affordable. Um, yes, and I believe that may be us at the end of this lesson stream live. I was hoping we'd finish this one a little bit earlier. Let me just have a quick run through some of your comments that I've missed here. Arundum says picture telling text can be really good communicative tools in the ESL classroom. They really can. I think it all comes down to the images we choose. And because images are such a, it's an umbrella term for so much, so many different types of material, there's really no limit to the type of activity and the type of issue that we can explore through picture telling. Elizabeth said this, but I'll just say it again. She says, super membership. Oh, thanks, Elizabeth. Nellie, excellent images in the book. The picture with the dog was used by the dog's thoughts, the spy dog, the binoculars. Excuse me. I'm going to share this with teachers in your school. That'd be great, Anna. Thank you so much. Oh no, what a faux pas I've made. I've been critical of people who take photographs of sunsets. I'm so embarrassed. Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. Appreciate that. Thank you, Antonella. Yeah. Okay, sunsets. I'll let you take photographs of sunsets. Just don't impose them on your students. Elizabeth's been my best friend today. Thank you very much for joining. Oh, look at this one. Membership is the best thing that could happen to a teacher. Oh. And Nellie, who's been a member for quite some time. The course is amazing to develop narrative skills and not only excellent for boosting the skills. Thank you so much. And Yana, students love making up stories on pictures. Yeah, you like the frog and the raindrop lesson. So listen, thank you so much to all of you for taking this time to be here. It really means a lot to me. I work hard at these, so it's great to see you. So thank you so much. Oh, look, there's Lambo. I didn't know you were here, Lambo. Lovely to see you, another LessonStream member. So thank you all so much. I'll be in any questions about the LessonStream membership or anything like that, just drop me an email, okay? Or let me know in a comment below. My email is jamie@lessonstream.com. All right, so take care. Have a great end of the week and a great weekend. And it's Wednesday. Can we say that, end of the week? Yes, we can. We can be thinking about the weekend. All right, take care and thanks again. Bye-bye.